The cruiser Vornexate docked silently with the Imperial Enforcer dreadnought. The hissing seal of atmosphere exchanged the only sign anything had transferred. 2 squads of armored Karsan soldiers flanked the metal hallway, their mandibles twitching with anticipation as the airlock opened. Inside the captured shuttle was a single human, male, middle-aged, hands bound, eyes closed. "Is this him?" the Enforcer captain asked, his secondary eye swiveling. "He looks thin." Confirmed. Diplomatic envoy assigned to Earth Taraxis Peace Mediation Protocol 17C, the officer replied. Name, Aaron Kessler. Civilian. No military record. The human opened one eye, tilted his head, and smiled. Not a friendly smile. Not fear, either. He just seemed entertained. "Put him in Containment Block 5, the captain ordered, already bored. "Interrogation Priority 3. Not urgent." The human remained quiet as they marched him down the illuminated corridor, past containment units filled with more defiant species. He didn't shout. He didn't plead. He didn't even glance at the energy rifles trained on him. The guards weren't concerned. Why would they be? A lone, unarmed Terran diplomat? Not worth raising shields over. In the command dome, High Director Calax slithered into the chamber, trailing data tendrils across the embedded panels. "The human is in our custody," he confirmed over the secure channel. "The Terran Confederation will be forced to accede to our demands. Let's see how long their diplomacy lasts with their envoy in our grasp." On the monitor, Ambassador Rial of Earth stared calmly. "He's not one of ours," Calax hissed. "Don't insult my intelligence. We know who he is. He carries verified credentials, Class T authorization." "Yes," Rial said evenly. "We issued that. But he doesn't work for us. Not anymore. He was discharged." "Why?" The human ambassador leaned in. "You're going to wish you never asked that question." The feed cut out. Calax's frills rippled in irritation. He swiveled to the tactical officer. "Begin psychological interrogation protocols. Start with sensory deprivation and nutrient denial. I want him broken by mid-cycle." 2 hours later, the door to Containment Block 5 opened with a metallic grind. The guards inside were dead. Not slumped. Not wounded. Dead. Their bodies were arranged in perfect, geometrically precise rows, arms folded over chests, heads aligned by size. Kessler was gone. An emergency klaxon blared as a team of shock troops swarmed the corridors. They found no trace of him until a surveillance drone caught flickers of motion inside a service shaft. When they opened the hatch, the body of a technician fell out. No wounds. Cause of death: heart failure induced by fear. On Deck 12, airlock systems failed simultaneously. Backup systems came online, but only in half the sectors. 3 hangars depressurized. 2 security AI nodes crashed. Calax screamed into the comms, "Seal all bulkheads. Lock every maintenance crawlspace. Initiate full lockdown." In the mess hall, a dozen soldiers sat silently, staring at the table. Kessler had been here. He'd left them alive, but each one had a shallow cut just over the carotid, surgically placed, bleeding slowly. A warning. A timer. When the med team arrived, none of the soldiers could speak. Trauma inhibitors were overridden. Neural analysis showed identical brainwave signatures across all of them, paralyzing dread. Back in the bridge, a low-priority maintenance bot wheeled itself into a charging bay. Nobody paid attention. Inside its hollow shell was Aaron Kessler, legs folded, eyes open, waiting. When the lights dimmed during the diagnostic cycle, he emerged without a sound. The ship's internal audio system glitched. Instead of alert tones, a voice began playing in reverse. No known language. The voice repeated the same sequence of pulses. Communications specialists began dissecting it, and froze when they realized it was a countdown. One by one, non-essential crew began requesting transfers. Then essential ones. Then command staff. Calax stood before a holographic display of the Terran diplomat's record. There was a redacted section under Previous Occupation. The encryption was unbreakable, even by Imperial Cornet. He summoned a higher intelligence node. The AI studied the data, attempted a trace, then fell silent. When it rebooted, its voice modulation had changed. Do not pursue. This designation is not for your records. Human designation, null factor. Clearance, Shadow 0. Galactic clenched his claws. Is he military? No. Then what is he? The AI hesitated. A solution Earth created for problems they feared to acknowledge. In the lower decks, a detainment unit meant for volatile prisoners opened with a pneumatic hiss. The prisoner inside was a Pharaxian bloodmonger, 8 feet tall, chemically altered for berserker rage. He blinked as his shackles disengaged and the door unsealed. A whisper echoed through the speaker above him. Run. The creature rampaged through 5 levels before collapsing in a storage bay, every limb broken. Medical scans later showed no trace of Kessler's DNA anywhere nearby. He hadn't fought. He had manipulated, engineered, weaponized. On Deck 3, the temperature dropped. Not an environmental failure, deliberate control override. Condensation beaded on walls as entire wings grew quiet. One squad sent to investigate reported they were being watched. No proof. Just feelings. Then screams. Then silence. Of the 6, 1 survivor was found cowering under a power conduit, eyes gouged out. Not physically. He'd done it to himself. Kessler appeared again in engineering. Not directly. Not visibly. But systems began rerouting to give him access. Airflow. Gravity plating. Automated doors opened fractionally before closing again. Power thresholds were adjusted 1 digit at a time. The chief engineer initiated a hard reset of the fusion drive control relays. The drive initiated a 10-second pre-ignition test cycle. Without command. Without reason. When they aborted it, the override code had already been replaced by a series of Earth nursery rhyme lines. When they traced the source, it led to the primary sanitation subroutines. He had hidden himself in the plumbing. Galactic began losing officers. Not to death. To refusal. Commanders began locking themselves in their quarters. Junior crew began fasting voluntarily. Anyone who heard Kessler's voice reported auditory hallucinations. None of them ever saw him. Just his effects. Just his aftermath. One crewman's report summed it up best. He doesn't kill for fun. He kills to send messages. We just don't understand the language yet. They sent in a Vorkothi mindrender. 8-limbed psionic assassin trained in neural warfare. Her mission: locate, isolate, terminate. She never reached him. Her armor was found in pieces. Still floating. Her brain stem was removed through the ocular cavity. Not crushed. Removed. Messages began appearing on internal screens. I told you not to touch me. Diplomacy is over. This isn't vengeance. This is art. Earth made no demands. No rescue attempt. No retaliation. Just silence. Galactic demanded a meeting with the Imperial Council. This is terrorism. This is war. The Supreme Chancellor answered coldly. This is your failure. Return or be replaced. He tried. He initiated a full purge protocol. Vent atmosphere, flood corridors with plasma. But the command system refused. The main console displayed one line. Now we're locked in together. The first suicide happened on the command deck. A navigation officer walked out of her station, opened the viewport shutter manually, and smashed her head against the glass until her skull fractured. No one moved to stop her. They understood. Some envied her. The armory unlocked itself. Not all at once. Just a few rifles, 1 crate of detonators, 2 sealed vials marked Level 9 Quarantine, a xenocidal agent. Kessler didn't take them. He left them where they were, but now every officer wondered when he would. Someone suggested turning the dreadnought's weapons inward. Fire the anti-ship guns into their own compartments. Blow the infected decks out the hull. The vote failed, barely. 4 hours later, the one who proposed it was found sewn inside an escape pod. Sewn. With surgical wire through his own lips, wrists, and ankles. There was no air in the pod. Galactic's finally authorized Project Shatterglass, a last resort mind invasion protocol, developed to dissect the consciousness of sentience classified as Tier 8 or higher threat. It had never been tested on humans. Until now. They wired the interface into the most stable neural reader left. The operator was a Sixian empath, trained from hatching to absorb psychic trauma. She touched the interface. She lasted 4 seconds. Her eyes liquefied. Before her heart stopped, she whispered, "He's smiling at me." They launched decoy life pods to draw him out. He never went near them. But each one they retrieved had been opened, resealed, and filled with a message. Pictures of Galactic, personal files, family records, logs from private conversations. Some photos showed things that hadn't happened yet. Temporal forensics confirmed the impossible. The images had been taken using onboard equipment, but the timestamps were 3 days in the future. In the hangar bay, a shuttle powered on by itself and hovered in place. Music played through its comms, a soft Terran lullaby in a woman's voice. No one approached it. When they finally shut it down, they found the pilot seat covered in blood. DNA didn't match anyone on board. Later scans said the blood hadn't even been organic. It was synthetic, grown for ritual. Crew began whispering about the man beneath the skin. That Kessler wasn't human anymore. That he'd turned into something else, something Earth refused to name. A weapon too monstrous to acknowledge. Some said he was a remnant from before the Confederation, a relic from Earth's unrecorded wars, an apex predator denied extinction. Galactic refused to believe myth. He believed in procedure. So he called for the execution cast. 3 drop pods launched from orbit. 3 elite hunter-killers arrived. Trained to exterminate hostile anomalies on hostile worlds, they operated without emotion, without conscience. The first made it 6 minutes. Found shredded across 5 different sectors, reassembled into a crude sculpture posed in mock salute. The second didn't die. She vanished. Her tracker went dark 10 meters from auxiliary command. 2 days later, her voice was heard through the intercom, whispering human phrases she couldn't have known. The third reported seeing Kessler. Just once. He described the man as calm. Unarmed. Staring. But when he raised his rifle, he couldn't move. His body locked. His breathing stopped. His vision narrowed to blackness. He woke up strapped to a medbay gurney with a single note carved into his armor. "Next time, don't blink." The execution cast withdrew. The Admiralty revoked Galactic's command. Orders came from above: evacuate the dreadnought and destroy it. But the engines were dead. The AI refused launch commands. Every attempt to start the core redirected power to environmental systems, specifically to heat waste recycling. The ship was growing colder. Emergency beacons stopped transmitting. External comm arrays had been physically removed. Someone walked along the outer hull with magnetic boots and a torch, carving messages in the armor. The telescope drones recorded it. Human letters spelling "one left." Galactic stood alone on the bridge, drinking thermal solvent directly from the containment flask. He muttered to himself, holding a phase pistol against his leg. He hadn't slept in a week. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard boots walking toward him. Not running. Walking. Deliberate. Loud. The few officers still functional barricaded themselves in the data vault. They tried to contact Earth one last time. A voice answered. Not human. Not Kessler. It said, "We told you he was not ours." Then cut the channel. The lights dimmed shipwide. All internal gravity reversed for 11 seconds. Screams echoed through ventilation shafts as bodies fell upward into ceiling grates, bones snapping against sealed panels. When it normalized, 7 crew were missing. Not crushed. Not bleeding. Just gone. The mess hall erupted in gunfire. One cook snapped and killed everyone in line. No motive. He'd spoken with Kessler the day before, passed him a food tray. No words exchanged. Later, someone reviewed the footage. Kessler had tapped the cook's shoulder once. That was it. From that touch, the cook had unraveled. As if some suggestion, some implant had seated itself in the skin, spread through thought, and bloomed into madness. When they opened the cryopod bay, they found all long-term hibernation units online. Someone had activated them. Every pod contained a crew member from a different deck. All were asleep, dreaming, but not alone. The biometric scanners detected elevated brain activity, synchronized across all 32 sleepers. A single dream signature looping through all of them, identical in every frequency. A whisper that repeated the same Terran phrase. I forgive you. Some tried to wake them. None responded. One did briefly. She opened her eyes, looked at the medic and said, "He's beneath the floor." Then her heart stopped. When they cut open the floor plates of Engineering Deck C, they found a tunnel. It hadn't been there during construction. It shouldn't exist. And yet it twisted downward, far deeper than any part of the ship extended. No lights worked inside. No signals returned. A probe was sent. It vanished. Another was sent. It returned, but the data had changed. Every file now displayed scenes from Earth. Not present day. Oh, cavemen. Fires. Primal screams. One analyst began crying. He recognized the landscape. It was his ancestral village, destroyed 5 centuries ago. Nobody could explain how the data probe knew that. Someone began praying. When they returned to the bridge, they found Kallax sitting calmly in the command chair. Gun on the floor. Eyes blank. He said, "He sat here." They asked who. Kallax didn't blink. "The Diplomat." He stood, walked to the viewport, and pressed his forehead against the glass. Outside, written across the forward hull in black char, was a new message. He speaks for Earth. The last 10 crew members gathered in the core control chamber. Final plan: detonate the dreadnought manually. Initiate overload. As the sequence initiated, lights flared, then dimmed. The chamber doors locked. The countdown stopped. Someone screamed. On the center console, the screens flickered to life. One after another, they displayed all 10 crew members, each on camera in real time from within the room. But then the 10th screen split into 11 feed. Then 12. Each angle showed them from a different perspective. Some impossible. Some from directly behind their own eyes. The signal cut to black. Silence. Then static. The Galactic Council chambers erupted in screams, translators failing to capture the full depth of the panic as entire species turned on each other, shouting, demanding answers, demanding action. But there was no action left. The last of their fleets had been sent. The last of their dreadnoughts vaporized. Their final gambit ended in silence. The humans stood alone in the ashes. Commander Jalen's boots crunched over scorched alien alloy. The ruins of what had once been the galaxy's most fortified station lay in twisted pieces around him. He walked with the calm of someone used to staring down extinction and blinking first. His armor hissed and clicked as it adjusted to the new gravity, scanning for survivors, threats, or movement. None came. He wasn't looking for revenge. He was making sure it was over. From orbit, Earth's final fleet remained in formation. 12 ships out of 70,000, each trailing scars, most with hulls bleeding atmosphere. Yet they held position, disciplined, ready. What the galaxy hadn't understood, what they refused to grasp, was that humans didn't fight for power. They fought for each other. And the galaxy had taken a child. Behind Jalen, the ground cracked. A plasma conduit whined to life. A massive figure surged forward, still burning from the wreckage. General Kravik. Charred, unrecognizable, dragging a fusion hammer behind him with one remaining claw. Jalen didn't flinch. The hammer rose. The human caught it mid-arc with one gauntlet, locked it in place, and drove his boot into the alien's chest. Bones snapped. Kravik fell, gurgling, bile pouring from a split jaw. Jalen knelt beside him, helmet folding back. You broke the galaxy's last piece. You slaughtered our child, he said, quiet. You wanted to know what happens when we stop holding back. You're looking at it. He stood, leaving the general dying in the dust. No further words. On Earth, the mother of the slain child stood outside the crater where the war had begun. Flowers ringed the edge. Drones floated silently overhead, keeping vigil. The sky no longer hosted orbital defense rings. They didn't need them now. The message was clear. Earth didn't beg. It warned once. And when the galaxy ignored that warning, it sent ghosts in war armor. In the depths of neutral space, survivors limped away. Fragments of the last coalition forces ran, skipping from system to system, trying to hide. The humans did not pursue. They didn't need to. Those who had seen Earth's retaliation carried the horror forward. That was enough. But something unexpected happened. From the chaos, voices began to rise. Not in anger, not in blame, but in reverence. Species once under the Empire's heel began calling humans liberators. Not because humans intended to free anyone, but because their fury shattered the very system of galactic oppression. Rebellions lit up across 50 sectors. Chains broke. Entire fleets mutinied, inspired by a single human transmission played over hijacked comms. You took one of ours. Now we take everything. The coalition fractured from within. Species that had remained neutral out of fear began offering tribute, not in submission, but in respect. Not to rule-bound bureaucrats or imperial thrones, but to Earth. To the idea of justice with teeth. For the first time in galactic memory, fear didn't protect tyrants. It protected children. Deep beneath the Arctic ice, in a bunker sealed by AI only 3 humans could access, the war table shut down. Jalen removed his command chip and placed it into the vault. Protocol Omega Last was complete. The war was over. The other commanders met him in silence. Admiral Cho, face bandaged, leaning on a cane but unbowed. Sergeant Major Imani, eyes red with exhaustion but blazing with purpose. Colonel Vasquez, leaning against a console, watching Earth skies on a silent feed. What now? Imani asked. We rebuild, Cho said. We watch, Vasquez added. Jalen nodded. We don't forget. He looked up at the projection of stars. Whole systems now free. Some in chaos. Some in mourning. But all of them aware that humanity wasn't myth. It wasn't ancient terror. It was still here. Still standing. And it remembered every name lost. Months passed. On a distant moon in Sector 7 Kilo, a small outpost of formerly enslaved Cernari erected a statue. Not of a human soldier, but of a child. The human child whose death sparked liberation. Her face, carved in luminous stone, stared toward the sky, eyes wide with the wonder that never got to grow. Below, in dozens of languages, was a single inscription, never again without consequence. A human diplomat visited that world quietly. No entourage. No fleet. She left behind a single object, a bracelet sized for a young wrist, woven with names in 1,000 script. In another part of the galaxy, a rogue ex-commander of the shattered Imperial fleet tried to reorganize resistance. He made it halfway through a rally before the lights dimmed and a single human drop pod punched through the ceiling. The crowd scattered. The pod opened. No one ever saw the commander again. Humanity didn't send armies anymore. It sent one. In time, galactic law changed. Not under human pressure, but under fear. Fear of making the same mistake twice. No human ever demanded a seat at the council. The council chambers remained, hollowed, shattered in places, rebuilt with fragments of the war embedded in the walls as a warning. The chair once reserved for Earth sat empty. Intentionally. The galaxy now measured its actions against that silence. Years later, a small research outpost orbiting a rogue black hole detected an anomaly. A vessel, ancient and massive, drifting with no power signature. The crew boarded it. Inside, they found murals, scenes of war, love, loss, and fury. One room held nothing but a scorched helmet, welded to the floor, beneath a single phrase, "For one child we brought down the stars." The outpost sealed that room, left it untouched. It became a pilgrimage site for those who survived. Not a monument to violence, but to restraint. For in all their wrath, humanity had only destroyed those who struck first. One alien historian, tasked with chronicling the darkest chapter of the galaxy's history, wrote a single entry under humanity's file. It read, "Species designation, Homo sapiens. Strength, incalculable. Motivation, vengeance is rare. But should it be earned, nothing escapes." She sent the file, then deleted her backups. It was understood. There would be no second warning. In a forest on Earth, that mother still walked each morning by the stream where her daughter once played. Wildflowers grew in spirals, untouched. She didn't speak often. She didn't need to. The whole galaxy spoke for her now. One afternoon, she received a visitor. A Cernari woman, emaciated but upright, holding a carved stone. A token. The child's name, in her own language. She bowed, placed it in the garden, and left without words. More followed. Dracari, Valari, even a former Imperial soldier, each leaving something behind. Not in apology, but as part of a new record. A record not kept in files or archives, but in soil, in sky, in memory.